Hey guys, in this video we're going to be building an HTML5 audio player using the Audio API. And I haven't seen very many good tutorials on this. We're not going to simply stick audio tags into embedded in a web page. We're going to use JavaScript to be able to load album images, songs, play functionality, pause, skip track. Okay, we're going to have playlist functionality. Volume. Alright, so it's a full functional audio player. Alright, so we can go ahead and press play, and I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but it's playing. You can see the duration, and this is also going to show you the duration, this progress bar. I can go ahead and pause it, and we can switch through tracks. Alright, we can go back, and we can also click on the song down here. Alright, so full functionality. So what we're going to do is go ahead and create a new folder for our project, and I'm just going to call it HTML5 audio player. And if you look in the description of the video, you should have a link to the GitHub page so you can get the files. For the images, okay, so for the play, the stop, and the next and previous images, I created those in Photoshop. I'm not going to go through that and show you how I did that. You can just grab them from the files, or even use your own if you want. Alright, so let's create our file structure. We'll create a folder called image, and I'm just going to go into the final project and get all the images. So basically we have the background, the knob for the volume, next, previous, pause, play, stop, and the progress bar. We have the empty progress bar and the full progress bar. And then I have a folder called covers, which has cover1.jpg. Alright, so I'm going to grab all of these and bring them over. And again, you feel free to make your own images. Alright, so next we want a CSS. We want a folder to store the media. Alright, and that I'm also going to bring over. Feel free to use your own songs, your own MP3s or whatever. I'm just going to bring all these over. Okay, and then we want a JavaScript folder, and then just our index folder, index file, sorry, index HTML, and that's it. So let's also create our CSS file. So this will be style.css. Alright, and also JavaScript. Let's create a file called main.js, and we also need jQuery, so we're going to go ahead and download jQuery. You can use a remote repository if you want, but I like to include the actual file in my application. And I'm going to save this just as jQuery.js, and I want to save it in my project file, in my JavaScript file. Alright, so that should do it for files. So I'm going to use Notepad++. Feel free to use your own editor, whatever you like. Get rid of these. Alright, now I just want to navigate to that folder, which is it's on my desktop. Alright, so I have the folder structure here. So the first thing we want to do is our HTML. Alright, so let's just go ahead and set up a HTML5 document. Okay, title. We'll just say HTML5 audio player. Alright, and we want to link our style sheet. And I'm going to include our JavaScript at the bottom of the body. So first we want our jQuery. Alright, and then we want our main JavaScript file. Alright, so that's the basic structure. Alright. So what I want to do, let's see, I want to start with a container because this is going to be in a container and we're going to give it a fixed width. Alright, so we'll give it an ID of container. Okay, and in that container, the first thing we have is the image. So we'll go ahead and say div ID audio image, and that's going to be the cover. So image class equals cover, and I'm not going to insert. I'm not going to put in an src tag attribute because we're going to do this dynamically through JavaScript. Okay, so all we need is the image tag along with the class. Alright, so after the audio image, we want the audio player. So div ID audio player. And inside the audio player, first we'll have the info. Alright, so if we look at the audio player is from here down to I think here. Okay, so this whole area. So audio info div ID info. Actually, I want this to be audio info. Alright, and we're going to have, we want the artist and the title. Alright, we're going to put those inside of spans. So we'll say span class is going to be, not article, artist. And remember, these are going to get generated from the JavaScript. We're not going to include anything here. Alright, and then we want a dash, and then we're going to have this the title of the song. So span class is going to be title. Alright, so that's the artist and the title. That's audio info. Next we want the volume, which is going to be an input. It's going to have a class, it's going to have an ID of volume. Alright, and the type we're going to use is the HTML5 range type. Okay, so it's going to give us that little slider. Alright, the minimum we're going to set to 0, and the max will be 10. Alright, and the initial value will be 5. Okay, when it starts up, it'll be at 5. Excuse me. Okay, so that's good. And let's take a look at it. It's not going to look like much. Okay, so we have basically just a slider. The text is going to be generated, so we're not going to see that yet. Alright, so after the volume, let's just put in a line break, bring it down a little, and then we're going to have our buttons. So div ID, and this is going to be, we'll say audio buttons. And basically what we're going to do here is just create empty buttons with IDs. So button ID, we want our previous button, play. Let me just copy this. Okay, so we have previous, we have play, we have pause. The pause button, we're going to hide through, we're going to use CSS to hide that until a song is actually playing. Alright, and then we'll say stop and next. Alright, so those are our buttons. After the buttons div, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to have some floating here, so I want to go ahead and clear it. So I'm going to create a custom class called clearfix. Alright, and then after that we want the tracker. Alright, now the tracker is basically this area here with the progress bar. Alright, so div, and we're going to give it an ID of tracker. Alright, and inside here we'll have another div with the ID of progress bar. And then inside there we want another div with the ID of progress. Alright, now this is because we're going to have an image of an empty progress bar which will be attached to this div, and then the progress will be the filled progress bar. Alright, and here we want to put a span. So span ID, oh I'm sorry, this should actually be a span, this progress. Make sure you change that. Okay, span progress, and that's it. We're not going to put anything in here. So basically we're not putting in any content really through the HTML. It's going to be all through JavaScript and through the API. So right under the progress bar div, we're going to have the duration, and that's going to be a span tag. So span ID is going to equal duration, and this is going to be the numbers, the time that the song has been playing. Okay, and then that's it for, I think it's tracker. Yeah, so under tracker we're going to have another, whoops, this should be a span. Span. And under tracker we'll have another clearfix, just to clear any floats. Alright, and then finally we'll have the playlist, okay, which will be quite a bit of code, or markup I should say. So it's going to be a UL, and we're going to give it an ID of playlist. I apologize if I sound a little stuffy, I'm getting over a cold. So playlist, an ID of playlist, it's going to have a class of hidden. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure if we need this, so I'm going to take it off for now. And then in the playlist, we're going to have a bunch of LI tags representing each song. Alright, so we're actually going to have a song attribute. Alright, and in that we're going to put the title. So the first one will be Linkin Park dash, because I'm going to put the artist in as well. And the song will be papercut.mp3. Alright, so that's the song attribute. Next, we'll have cover, and that's going to be cover1.jpg. So each song you can have a different cover for, but I'm just going to use the same one for all of the songs. Alright, and then finally in this li tag we want artist. Alright, so artist, I'm going to set to Linkin Park. Alright, and then we'll close that off, and then the name of the song again. MP3 li. Alright, so we want to do this for each song. Now, generally, you would, if you were to have this as a production app, you would want a better way to add songs instead of going in and adding an li tag and all the song names and stuff. So you'd probably want to build some kind of server-side application where you could just upload the song or enter the song info in a form. Alright, so this is basically just a front-end application. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is, there's quite a bit of songs, so I'm going to pause the video and then just paste in all the songs. Alright, so I've pasted in all the songs, same format, song, cover, artist. Alright, so that is all of the HTML. If we save it and take a look, it looks absolutely horrendous. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is style this with CSS. So let's go ahead and open our style.css file. Alright, so we're going to start with some of the core elements. What I want to do is I want to zero out the margin and the padding and the border of all elements. So I'm going to use the asterisk and we'll say margin 0, padding 0, border 0, and outline none. Okay, so that's kind of a reset. Next we'll do the body. Okay, so I'm going to set font family is going to be Arial. The font size I want to be 13 pixels. Oops. Okay, the line height. Line height will be 1.5 EM. Color will be white. Okay, now we want to do the background, and you can see that in my image folder we have this bg.png, and it's basically a dark carbon type design texture, and we're just going to have it repeat through the whole background. Okay, it'll give us that cool carbon look. Alright, so this is going to be URL, and it's going to be in the image folder called bg.png. And we're not going to do anything with repeat because we want it to repeat vertically and horizontally. So if we go ahead and reload, okay, now we have a background. Next, let's do that clearfix class. And the only thing we need here is clear both. That'll clear any floats. Okay, now the container. The width is only going to be 330 pixels. Alright, now this application will also look good on mobile devices. Alright, we don't even need to really do any kind of responsive media queries, because it's so thin anyways. It should look good on all devices. I'm going to set a minimum height of 400 pixels. Okay, the background I want to be a dark gray, and overflow should be auto. Overflow, not overlow. I'm going to give it a margin. At the top we'll do 60 pixels, top and bottom, and then the left and right auto because we want it to be in the middle. We want to give it a border of a semi-dark gray, solid 2 pixels, and I want to have a 10 pixel border radius. Okay, so we need to do the vendor prefix versions as well. So border radius 10 pixels. We'll do WebKit, Chrome, and Safari. 10 pixels and border radius 10 pixels. Okay, so that should do it for the container. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so that looks good so far. So let's do the image, okay, because the image will be the first thing in the container. And this was called, I believe it was audio image, or IMG. And I'm going to set the position to relative and set the overflow to hidden. It's going to have a height of 200 pixels, margin bottom 15 pixels. Now the image is going to be it's going to be generated through JavaScript, so we're not going to see it yet. Okay, so even if I save it, you can see that it's going to be 200 pixels high, which is, it's going to show about, let's see, the top half or the top 60% or so of the album. We could make it bigger, but that would move all our controls and everything down under the fold, and I don't want to do that. So I think just having the top of it is fine. So after the image, the info, all we need to do for that is align it to the center. So text align center, and the artist I actually want to be bold. Alright, so we can go and say audio info dot artist. Oh, why do I keep writing an article? Artist, say font weight bold. Okay, so the cover is going to have a width of 100%, and this actually should probably be up with the image class. So right under audio image, we'll have cover width 100% and z index 1. Alright, so next we have the volume, okay, which is an input. So input ID volume. Alright, so I want the width to be 95%. I'm going to have a margin left of 2%. Okay, just to get it in the middle. Background will be gray. It's going to have a height of just 1 pixel and then a margin bottom of 20 pixels. Alright, now in order to get it to use an image instead of this, we have to do use Webkit Appearance. Alright, so I'm going to put that like right here. So Webkit Appearance is going to be none, and set that to important. And I believe there's a few browsers that this will have to look like this. We can't get the knob image. Alright, it took me a while to figure this out because I've actually never done that. Never tried to style one of those before. Alright, so then under here we're going to say input volume, and then I guess a pseudo selector called WebKit slider thumb. Okay, I'm not exactly sure why we use this, but I just know we need to use it if we want that knob, and we need this as well in here. Alright, and then we can put our image in. So background will be URL, and let's see, in the image folder we want knob.png, and you want to make sure that you have a no repeat. Alright, and then just do the height and width of the image, which is 12 pixels. Alright, so I think that should work. Let's check it out. Alright, good. Alright, so volume's all set. Now we can get to the buttons. Okay, this is just the button area in general. Is going to have a width of 90%. We want it to display as a block. Margin, we'll do 15 on the top and bottom, and then auto on the left and right. We're going to give it a little margin on the left just to push it to the middle of 23 pixels, and then just set the overflow to auto. Okay, so now we can actually put the buttons in. The buttons are going to be background images. So button ID of play, we'll have a width of 90%, display block, margin, I'm sorry, this is the wrong code. We need a width of 70 pixels, okay, which is the width of the play button. And also height will be 70 pixels, and then the background image. What is it? It's play.png. Okay, we want to say no repeat, and we also want to float it to the left. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is just copy this, paste it. Okay, so after play we'll have the pause button. So we just want to change the name of the image. Got play, pause, stop. And then previous, okay, previous float left. We want to give previous a margin top of 15 pixels. Alright, and then next. So next we'll also have a margin top, but it's going to float to the right. Okay, they all float to the left except for next. Alright, so let's take a look at this. And it's messed up because the pause and play button are both displayed. When we do our JavaScript, that won't happen. It'll show play. If you click play, then pause will show and play will hide. Alright, so don't worry about this right now. Okay, so under the buttons we'll have our playlist. Okay, so remember we have an ID called playlist. Alright, and we're just going to set list style to none, and then add padding of 10 pixels on all sides. Alright, so now the playlist list item, we want to change the cursor to a pointer when we hover over it. Alright, and we're going to have a margin of 5 pixels. Alright, now the active playlist, Let me just copy that, and playlist li dot active will have a font weight of bold, and we'll give it a padding of 3 pixels and a background. Okay, this is so we know which song is playing. Let's see, I missed some code for the progress bar, I believe. Yeah, we didn't do that, the progress bar. So let's see, progress bar and the duration. Okay, so next we'll say progress bar. Alright, this is going to have a width of 80% and a margin left of 2%. And let's see, a margin bottom of 20 pixels, and then a margin top of 9 pixels, and the height 10 pixels. And then we have our background, which will be a URL, and the image is called progressbg.png, and we want to make sure that it's no repeat. Alright, and then finally we're going to float left. Alright, so we still can't see it, and I think that I named it wrong. I think this, yeah, this should be progress bar lowercase b. Alright, so there's the progress bar. Now we want to do the progress, which is going to be the blue background in the progress bar. Okay, so we want to do our background. Let me just copy this. And it's called progress PNG. Okay, height also 10 pixels. And then we want to display an inline block. Okay, so if we reload, you're not going to see anything because we're only going to see it when the song plays and it moves up. So next is the duration. Alright, so that'll be the numbers, the time on the side of the progress bar. So duration is going to have an absolute position. Okay, so top 0, right 10 pixels, and we'll give it some padding of 4 top bottom, 8 left right, and then set the background to black and set a border radius. Let me just copy that from up here. Where is it? Okay, 10 pixels is good. Whoop, fix that. Okay, so that's the duration. And actually I want that to be 5 pixels. And one thing we did forget is the actual tracker ID, which holds all that stuff right here, holds the progress bar and the duration. Oops, where am I going? Okay, so tracker. And for this, all we want to do is set the position to relative, because in order to use the absolute positioning of the duration, its container needs to be positioned relative. and then I'm just going to set the width to 100%, and that should do it. Alright, so let's save that, go back, reload, and our duration has no numbers in it, and also this kind of messes it up a little, so don't worry about it. This is looking how it should at this point. I'm going to stop here, and in the next video we'll start to do the JavaScript and make this thing come to life.